Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up, number 193 for Friday, June 5th, 2015. And the first story I want to bring up here is this one, and that is about the Greek debt crisis. I think the Greek debt crisis, the global economy, what's going on, the lawlessness, that's a big story of our times. It's really going to make way for all the other stories that are going to come down the pipe, political problems and war problems, everything else. Clock ticking for a Greek debt crisis. Listen, this has been going on, I know, for a while, and it's like the little boy that cried wolf, but it is ending. I think it ends this year, and I don't know if it's going to end, this week or next week or next month or the following month or sometime this fall. But I think it ends this year, and Greece has really already defaulted. When they got their first loan, when they were 170 some odd billion euro in debt. Thank you, Goldman Sachs, for making it possible for Greece to join the eurozone, and they never should have. But when they were 170 billion in debt and couldn't pay, they piled the debt on. They loaned them money to pay their bills. Isn't that a default? If you have to borrow money to pay your debt off, aren't you in default? Aren't you done? I mean, they have exploded the debt in Greece. They already couldn't pay the 170 some odd billion. Now it's 340 or 50 billion euros. They can't pay it. They're not going to pay it. The latest debt is a 300 million euro payment to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. And, Greece is getting nasty. The IMF's getting nasty. Germany, Eurozone's getting nasty. But they still got a problem, and that's Greece's default. Now Greece wants to bundle the loan up and buy the newly elected communist prime minister some time to work out a deal. And likely that's going to happen, but maybe not. And my prediction is they're going to find some way to make it last and kick the can. And there's 2 or 3 billion euro tranche left, the last little bit of bailout money left. And they're going to make some kind of a deal, and Greece is going to promise to be good. And I think that, what sources say is that, if they do get that 7.2 or $3 billion tranche of loan package, with what's left in the loan package, the bailout package, that'll get them to the fall. And I think once that money's gone, that's when the fireworks start. The fall, the perfect storm this fall. And Greece is another a canary. This canary is dead. I mean, the Greece canary is dead. It fell on the floor. It was rotting. They picked it up. They hollowed it out. They stuffed a bunch of stuff in it, and they stuck it back on the thing to make you think that this isn't really a default. But it is a default, and all the other Eurozone countries that are in big trouble, no matter what happens, are still going to be in big trouble, and they can't pay their debt. And therein lies the problem. Insolvency. And not just for Greece. And, can you ever remember a time in your life when a country the size of Greece, what's their population, 10, 12 million people? Country the size of Greece can go bust, and the whole world is freaking out that it can cause a daisy chain of default around the world, which it could. I talked to my friend Greg Manarino at TradersChoice.net and got his perspective on it. He called me and he said, he thinks that this is the unwinding right now. This is really the beginning of the unwinding. And that that the rubber is meeting the road, and he doesn't know when it's going to blow up, but he thinks that this could be really the beginning, and it could blow up fast, or it could get stretched out to fall. That's my take. He thinks it might blow up fast, but who knows? But he says the one thing he does know about, watch the bond market, because that is really going to tell you what's going on. And he thinks right now with this 10-year Treasury yield spiking up to 3.8%. 2.38%, and he said it's backed off a little bit, but he says, hey, listen, that's a big move. I mean, it was at 1.6 something over 3 or 4 months. Now it's at 2.38, 3.35. It's gone up. He also thinks that the high in the stock market is in. It's over. Party over with the stock market. It's down from here. He thinks that, and he's going to come on next week. We'll have lots to talk about, but he says watch the bond market. He has said this consistently. Watch the bond market, and he also told me that the bond market is signaling bad things coming down the track. That the spike in rate, bad things, and if the Fed loses, or when the Federal Reserve loses control of the bond market, it is over. game, set, match on the global economy, then who knows what will happen at that point. But he'll be coming on next week. Gregory Mannarino, TradersChoice.net. He'll come on. He's always a dream. And I want to tell you something else too about the economy. That by the way, if you think the economy is going to be getting better, and this is just the other thing here that I wanted to bring up about the economy is here this headline: economy picking up steam. The economy is picking up steam. Well, if the economy was picking up steam, would you have Christine Lagarde out this last week talking about how the Federal Reserve shouldn't be raising interest rates? They shouldn't be raising interest rates. And also, if you take a look at this here, that was one day. And the day before, here you have the economy picking up steam. And the day before, USA Today, this is the money section, USA Today, the day before, stingy spenders hold back growth. What? Which is it? Is it growing or is it getting ready to explode? You remember in the first quarter, and that was just last week, we found out that it was revised the GDP growth to 0.7%. That's negative. It's in the first quarter negative growth, which, by the way, was predicted by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, and John Williams, economist John Williams, who have both been guests on this show, said the first quarter would be negative and the second quarter will be negative too, and we'll be in a recession. We'll see about the second quarter, but maybe this is the reason why a few weeks ago Bank of America came out and said that the markets are in the, quote, their words, the twilight zone. And the Bank of America analyst told people told his clients that they should be holding higher levels of cash in gold, unquote. Yes, that's right. Told them to hold higher levels of cash in gold, his quote. Now hold that. Does that sound like the economy is getting ready to take off and do great? To hold cash in gold? Or does it sound like maybe he's worried about a market crash? Like Greg Mannarino is and other people who have come on this channel. I tell you, it's unbelievable, the propaganda by the mainstream media that they come out week after week, month after month, and keep telling us, the economy's getting ready to take off, and then the next day or the next week or whatever, some terrible story about housing starts or negative first quarter growth or unemployment, which unemployment's a bizarro. They're saying, there's so many jobs, part-time jobs. Part-time jobs have skyrocketed. They don't bring that up. It's just, we have job growth. Yeah, 29 hours a week, job growth. Yeah, lovely. And you know why it's 29 hours a week? It's because of lovely Obamacare. They said that you have to, offer benefits to people making, who are 30 hours or more. So everybody's got 29-hour-a-week jobs. Another thing negative for Obamacare, and Carl Denninger came on and said this sometime in, mid-2014, that Obamacare would kill the economy in 2015. And another, tip, another piece of data that shows the economy is going to have more headwinds. All the healthcare companies, the healthcare providers, the insurance companies say, we got to raise our premiums 20, 30, 40%, sometimes as high as 40% premium increases. Why? Because of Obamacare. And the people that got on Obamacare for, $3 a month are using a lot of expensive services. This is a quote, using a lot of expensive services. And also those young people that were supposed to come in and, spend, $100 a month for something they didn't need, didn't do it. So they're going to have to raise premiums again next year at 20, 30, 40, 50. I've seen as high as 40%. Premium increases for the people who can pay. You think that will, help out with folks who are, getting car loans? Speaking of car loans, if you've seen the record numbers, I think they sold, they're back to 10 years ago. They had, 17 million car sales. You know how they got that 17 million sales in car sales? You know how they got there? Record amount of loan debt, record amount of months to make payments on a car. Low interest, ultra low interest rate loans, no money down cars. Record months to pay for a car. The average is now 67 months. Some car loans, not uncommon for them to be 84 months. It's unbelievable. That's how they're juking the economy with debt on top of debt on top of debt. Just like Greece. When it breaks, it's ugly. But the Obamacare is another nail in the economic coffin that is going to, kill the economy. It's something that I've said. It's something that Carl Denninger said, that Obamacare is an economy killer. And this was all supposed to be cheaper. Remember that big fat lie they concocted? They didn't just miss it. They concocted lie after lie after lie. The Democrats lied to get this thing through. And it's killing the economy, just like many of my guests, including myself, have predicted it would do. Here's another little piece of MSM propaganda, and I'm using the USA Today a lot. Now, sometimes they do things that are good, but I'm sorry, the examples I have aren't so hot. NSA data collection ended. Now, that looks like a good headline, doesn't it? NSA data collection ended. And they did end the metadata collection. They're not going to be doing that where it's your phone call and how long it is, and, the quote-unquote metadata, the so-called metadata. But what's not included in the metadata is the actual calls. They can actually record your calls. They can actually use the information against you. It's now legal. Congressman Sensenbrenner, who wrote the Patriot Act, that's the law that was replaced by the newest law, which is the USA Freedom Act. He wrote the Patriot Act. I didn't put that in there. They didn't have the power to do mass data collection. They did that on their own. They shouldn't have done it. And Edward Snowden said it was unconstitutional, was a whistleblower. Then it all went to court, and the federal judge said absolutely unconstitutional, illegal. Well, you know what the USA Freedom Act did? It made what was illegal legal. Oh yeah, they gave up a few things, the metadata, but they can still record the calls and use the information against you. The FISA court, the secret court is still there. And and the Attorney General has special powers in case the court can't agree on anything. The Attorney General can just give her go-ahead. Loretta Lynch, she can now give her go-ahead. So basically they made what was deemed illegal by a federal judge. Now it is legal and the spying can continue. I got an idea. Why don't they concentrate on, the hacking this week at the IRS where, tens of thousands of taxpayers lost their data, or the hacking at federal government facilities and federal government computers where millions of federal employees lost their personal data to hackers. Or how about the TSA, where they were tested by their testers in the TSA, people at TSA, good guys were testing to see if the TSA would find out if they put fake bombs and things. That they failed 95% of the time. Maybe the government should concentrate on that instead of spying on all Americans. The Soviets, old school, the Russians tipped us off to the Boston bombers, and what do we do about it? Nothing. No, we were collecting data on all Americans. Maybe they should concentrate on actually going after the bad guys instead of going after all Americans. The strategy the Obama administration is using in Iraq is a disaster. I mean, come on, it's not working. It's a failure. It is not working. But yet the newspaper comes out and repeats this little lie. Airstrikes have killed 10,000 ISIS fighters. Airstrikes killed 10,000 ISIS fighters. Of course, the Pentagon says that this is irrelevant. This is not really not a good metric, basically, to use it. Not really relevant. 10,000 ISIS fighters. As if we're winning. Let's say, well, we got them, part of the way killed off. It's a disaster. They're not serious. My question is, they're out there selling oil on the black market. Why are any of those pumps allowed to pump? We can't fly over there and drop bombs on them? They're not serious. And I don't think they're serious about protecting Americans here in America. Lots of stories now starting to bubble out about, the latest is, a guy wanting to chop the heads off police officers and got shot. That's the latest, allegedly, that the person wanted to chop the heads off police officers. He got shot when he was confronted by police officers. But, is that strategy to protect Americans, is that going to fail too? Just like it's failing in Iraq? Heaven help us if it does. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Oh, one last thing. I have Warren Pollock on next week. He's a big-time, big-thinking Wall Street analyst. He's going to come on and tell us some of his analysis, which is contrary to some of the mainstream people, mainstream stories and mainstream analysis that's out there. But I will tell you one big thing that he pointed out, 3-4 months ago, and nobody was talking about that, is that China's going to be a big problem. And what's been happening in the last few weeks, them building those islands, the Chinese building islands out in the South China Sea, and the tension between the U.S. and China because of it. He has some great analysis. He'll be on first up next week. That'll be Warren Pollock, big thinking, big time Wall Street analyst. Warren Pollock will be on. That's my little plug. That's the way I see it. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your donations. It helps us. I'm Greg Hunter. Fear not. Prepare yourself physically, mentally, and above all, spiritually. Fear not.